Welcome to Creative Alignment, a podcast exploring the connection between creativity and energy, spirituality and entrepreneurship, so you can experience meaningful success and make a massive impact during this pivotal time on planet Earth. I'm Anna Herber, a writer, poet, speaker, artist, entrepreneur, and alignment guide, helping my clients activate soul purpose potential through creative reclamation. I've been exploring what I call the path of creative alignment for the last 10 years, using the alchemical pressures and profound joys of the creative process to surrender to my divine assignment, uncover my soul's essence, and orient my life around self-expression and service. I created this podcast to inspire you to trust your intuition so you can double down on your soul purpose path and shine your light as bright as you possibly can. Wild creativity and soul-aligned success is your birthright, and it's time to claim your role as a liberated co-creator of this reality. Hello to the beautiful human beings who have tuned in to Creative Alignment with Anna Herber today. I'm so excited to welcome this wonderful guest to this episode. Nikita Thakrar is an author, entrepreneur, and she is a guide for those who are seeking to embody their soul's purpose. In her Dharma diploma, she teaches and guides and shows people how to access your soul's potential and how to express it through authenticity, through expression, through movement. She is a classically trained Indian dancer and was running a successful dance school business for many years until her soul's calling led her to start evolving and get on a very exciting path towards sharing her ideas, speaking on stages, writing books, showing up on social media. And Nikita Thakrar has been a client of mine. We've worked together for 1.5 years. And on Monday this week, I had the great pleasure of watching her deliver her first TEDx talk on stage at TEDx Truro in Cornwall. It was such a beautiful day. We're going to talk about it. We are going to talk about Nikita's journey from busy, burnt out dance school owner, looking after everyone else's self-expression except her own, to being on stage at TEDx and manifesting it through self-expression. So we are going to be talking about how to manifest bucket list speaking opportunities through authentic self-expression. So welcome, Nikita. It's so great to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Anna. I love that introduction, and it's such a privilege to be here in this space together because, as you said, we have worked together for about 1.5 years, and it's been such a journey for both of us, and it's really great to see how we're both expressing ourselves creatively now.
It has been such a journey for both of us, and I said this to you this week, but there's very much like a soul tie vibe in our working relationship, and I felt it from when you first came into my world, and we sat down in ceremony online and then in person and then online again, and I have witnessed you over these sessions courageously continue moving towards this potential that has asked you to be courageous and make sacrifices and show up and invest and work with multiple mentors and express yourself again and again and get to the edge of your comfort zone and go beyond it and express and allow yourself to be seen. So how does it feel to have moved through all of that and have delivered your first TEDx on Monday?
Yeah, honestly, it's surreal. And I keep using this phrase that I'm coming down from cloud 9, and it's really feels like just so much emotion, so much liberation, I would say. I know that you use that word quite a lot in your work. And I mean, there's a whole process that took place from manifesting the opportunity to actually applying for it and then to preparing for it. So I'm happy to talk our viewers and listeners through that process. But what is very interesting is that the manifestation started long before I even applied. And I think that's the bit that most people muddle up. They often think that, okay, I'll take action or I'll wait for an opportunity to land and then I'll start working on myself. Whereas actually I did it the other way around.
Yes, that makes so much sense to me. You know, I've written things on my manifestation list, like speak on a TEDx stage one day and write a book, and these things that felt so beyond me at the time. But you have to like plant the seed as a desire. You know, like I think my soul seems to want this, or some part of me seems to think that I have this in me.
Yes.
Even when you are still massively in the like self-doubt, pedestaling other successful people and thinking that they've got it and you haven't, and everyone else has got it figured out and we don't. You know, even when you're still there's a part of you that knows I'm meant for greatness. I have greatness inside me. And then it's, you know, you plant that seed and start moving, start working on yourself, and then suddenly you find that it's leading in that direction.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how it was for me. I put TEDx on my vision board actually in January this year. So at the start of the year, I always do a vision board. And that's just one act. The rest of it is then doing the inner work. You know, we call it shadow integration. And it's about really diving inwards and saying, right, that was a great example you gave, putting other people on a pedestal. If we're comparing, that's a pattern. And so going inwards and asking yourself, why am I comparing myself with other people? What's really going on beneath the surface? And so to face those darkest parts of ourselves, it takes a lot of courage. And it's really through that process that I was able to get to the next layer and then the next layer. And then by the time the opportunity landed, I was almost partly ready for it because I'd already done a lot of the inner work.
That's exactly how it flows. You feel ready for it by the time it comes around because you started shifting your identity to match that person. You know, and you have the little wins along the way, don't you? Like when you tell a story that you've never told before on social media and you're terrified when you hit post, but then you don't die and nothing bad happens. And then quite often really good things happen, like someone messaging you to tell you how much it resonated and helped them, and just how good it feels to own that part of yourself. That kind of like social media storytelling has been really, really fruitful shadow work for me over the years. So have there been moments in your journey that you think have prepared you for TEDx?
Yeah, I think, as I say, going inwards, doing that deep inner work, getting to know myself and asking myself the question, why do I want this? So if TEDx or any other opportunity is on your bucket list or your vision board, ask yourself why. Is it because you want to have a few nice photos for Instagram? Is it because you want to prove something to yourself or to your inner child, perhaps? Is it because you want to make your parents proud? Like, what's the real reason? Because that reason is going to be fuel for whether or not you get it or not, firstly. Secondly, how quickly you get it. Because if you think about my timeline, I put it on my vision board in January and I was on stage by June. That's 6 months. And so that's quite fast, accelerated manifestation. And I believe that it was because of my intention. So I had a very original idea. TEDx is all about ideas worth spreading. And so it's about having a unique idea or having a unique perspective on that idea and then being able to deliver it in a way that resonates and lands with the theme of the event. And of course, timing is everything. So having that belief in yourself and in the idea is really important.
And I would love to ask you, what was your intention for doing a TEDx and putting it on your vision board?
Yeah, that was a great question, actually. And it's something, as I said, I kept asking myself again and again, like, why do I want this? Is it my ego that wants it because I want to prove something or want to feel good? Or is it my soul? Is it coming from my higher self? And in my case, it was coming from my soul. I truly believe that my message, my idea, my journey that I take people on is the antidote to the problems in the world right now. Now, you might hear that and think, gosh, she's a bit delusional, but that's how you have to be when you're manifesting. You have to believe in yourself and your vision so much that it's almost like you get to a point where you feel delusional with it. And so I do genuinely believe that the journey that I take people on from karma to dharma is the solution for the world's problems. And so my desire was so intense and it matched with my intention. That's why I believe the manifestation happened so quickly.
I completely agree that your intention is everything. And we have these different parts of ourselves. We have an ego. We
Yeah.
all have an ego. We all have the part of our personality that just wants to feel good enough and wants to feel
Yes.
safe and wants to be admired and all of that stuff. And that is human.
Yeah.
We all have that. You can have that at the same time as your higher
Yeah,
self
exactly.
intentions. But I think what really matters for manifestation and impact and success is tapping into that higher self, an open heart,
Yeah.
motivation, which is, how does this help others?
Yes.
What
Exactly.
difference does this make in the world?
Yeah.
And you're tapping into that why, that higher motivation, I think, unlocks so much growth. I've really had to check in with myself along my journey,
Yeah.
and is this coming from ego and the desire
Yeah.
to be admired and feel good enough and be able to put it
Yeah.
on my LinkedIn profile and and brag at parties? That's, we all want to do that
Of
at some level,
course.
but if you're only tapped into that part of yourself that's limited.
And that's exactly why I wanted to do it, because I truly believe that my message, my idea is inspirational. It will bring people hope. And I know that people right now in the current state of the world are suffering and are feeling this sense of uncertainty and feeling unsettled and questioning, like, why is this happening? What's the meaning of life? If there's really a God, why would there be so much pain on earth? Why would there be so much suffering? And so it's all of these questions that I wanted to attempt to answer in my talk. And so that's why when I was putting together the idea and my proposal and submitting it, and you have to do like a video audition and things like that, it was very much based on service. As you said, it's that frequency of giving rather than receiving. And so when we tap into giving and we step into that service, that's when we're actually in our dharma.
So many people have the idea already, but they haven't executed it yet. And it's when they finally start moving towards the idea that they've already had that they get that influx of energy. And then the next piece of the puzzle starts to drop in.
Yeah.
And I've experienced this so many times myself as well. I would say that when I felt blocked or stuck or overwhelmed, and what do I do now? I had to sit myself down and be like, okay, what are the ideas that I've already have that I haven't moved on yet?
Yeah.
And why haven't I moved on those ideas? Like, what's keeping me stuck in this illusion?
I think a lot of people, when they have that idea, it's almost like they want to know all of it in one go. They want a whole project plan or a business plan. But it is, gradual. So, for example, when I got the name Journey with Nikita, that was just a name. That was all that came through. It wasn't a whole plan. I didn't know what the journey would entail. I didn't have any clarity. But then, as you say, you act on that little piece that you do have, and then the next piece unfolds, and then the next piece unfolds. But what a lot of people I see doing is they get that piece of information and they block it there and then. So they'll say something like, which my lower self said as well, like, people don't want to go on a journey. There's no need to have a journey. What would a journey be? The word journey sounds like traveling. Like all these things that the ego will say to put you off, and it's only saying it to protect you and to, be cautious. But that's where people stumble, because then they don't get to the next bit. And so we've got to work through each part and say to the lower self, no, that's okay. It will unfold later on, but I'm just going to go with this now. I've got the name. I'm going to just play around with some logo designs or some branding colors or whatever. And then the next bit will come, the slogan might come, then the, biography might come. Like, it will just unfold. And so one thing that I say to people that work with me is just trust the process. Trust your higher self, that everything will be revealed to you at the right time.
Step by step, one creative act at a time. It's like you have to make the thing that's dropped through. You have to follow it through to completion, and then the next step is revealed. And then you just get used to working in that process, don't you? And you trust. You're like, okay, I'm going to make this thing and have as much fun as I can while doing it. And I trust that. And the most magical thing that I've experienced is, so say if you've had like multiple different downloads from intuition, like, one day I'm going to start a podcast and maybe I should create this PDF. And what then happens over time along the journey is then you start seeing how it all knits together. And what felt like lots of different plates that you were spinning actually forms together into something coherent. And you're like, I see why I needed to start creating this 3 years ago or working on this skill, because now it's all coming together. And like those moments are so sweet and make it all so worth it. And so, yeah, speaking of actions we haven't taken or things that we've been avoiding that ultimately prove to be the secret and the key, I would love to talk about you and dance. So, because I know that dance is such a big part of who you are. And I watched you dance at this TEDx talk, not once, but twice. On Monday, both at the beginning and end of your talk, and it was completely and utterly spellbinding to see you dance on stage. But having worked together with you, I know that there was a time in your life where you weren't dancing. So please tell me about this process and how it led to TEDx.
I mean, it goes back to what you said about how all the pieces come together. And actually, that's what Dharma is. Dharma is an amalgamation of all our lived experiences, our knowledge, our wisdom, everything that we have accumulated in our life coming together into a state of being. So many people think Dharma is a job title or a purpose. They say, I want to find my purpose, assuming that it's something external to be. Actually, it's a state of being to arrive at. Remember, I said the word arrived. So for me, I always knew dance was part of my Dharma because I spent 10 years in India training under a very strict teacher to be a classical Indian dancer. So I knew that there was something in it. But I think what happened was, because I was running my school, I got carried away with the administration, the management, the costume design. I was doing everything, the teaching. And so my passion for dance, my love for dance almost took a back seat. And so I stopped performing myself, especially because I had had a health scare, and it was always about putting my students first. If I performed too much, the students' parents would often say to me, oh, would it be okay if you give my child more time next time? So I felt like I was just there to manage everything and just be the support system for everybody else. So there was a niggling part of me saying, but dance is part of your Dharma. But I wasn't dancing. So I assumed that I had a block with dance. And actually, if you remember, Anna, that's why I came to you in the first place, because I was like, I've got this block with dance. I really want to do it, but I can't. I couldn't even do it in my living room. That's how bad the block was. But my soul was telling me that dance is part of your Dharma. And so it was that disconnect. And so me presenting dance on the TEDx stage was just surreal, I would say, because it was finally me reclaiming my relationship with dance. And also it was something out of the ordinary, because TEDx talks are normally about talking. And yet I opened up with a gesture, with a dance sequence, which is a classic pattern interrupt. And I ended with dance as well. And, a lot of that was because of the work that we had done together to really unblock and, as I say, reclaim my relationship with dance.
And I see the difference in your face and your being and your essence. Dance is so powerful, to express ourselves through movement, to allow emotion to guide our bodies. I think for women in particular, we need to dance. We are feminine, flowing beings. And, I know for me and myself and my embodiment as well, like going to ecstatic dance classes and finding spaces where I could dance that weren't necessarily raves, but, like alone in your office, letting go. I've also had times in my life where I just felt so ashamed of my body, disconnected from my body, that I couldn't dance for pleasure. That's something I love about my work is, when I have the opportunity to really empathize with someone and their creative block and their struggle and say to them, I've been there too. It's normal. We all get there. We all have that. So many of us are carrying this shame and disconnection from ourselves, and to normalize it. And I feel like lessens the burden when we have compassion for ourselves for experiencing it, rather than just placing more shame, more pressure, more accusations of, oh, why am I so stuck? And this is so frustrating. I did that for years with myself and writing fiction. Like I'd placed writing fiction on this pedestal and like just carried so much shame around the fact that I wasn't writing fiction yet and wasn't growing. And I used to tell myself things like, well, I've left it too late now. There's no way I'll be a good enough fiction writer by the time I'm in my 40s to get a book deal. And all of these sorts of stories, which actually were so painful and so toxic. And what helped in the end was starting to write poetry, starting to write songs, enjoying those little wins along the way, and just learning how to have fun in the writing process. And I feel like it's the same for dance, right? So I remember we talked about you dancing alone, and I used to issue you a ritual or a challenge to go and dance alone. I remember just how much you were carrying then. And then suddenly you started sending me videos of you dancing full expression. And I was like, oh, she's here. So what happened when you had that break?
Similar to you, that you pivoted from fiction to poetry, and I did the same thing. So I was classical Indian dancer, which is very rigid, very disciplined, and although I loved it and it served its purpose, it was time to pivot. And so then I found lyrical songs that I really resonated with and that actually represented the journey, because what I wanted was dance to be part of my dharma, but not for entertainment. So I'd gone past the stage where I wanted to dance to look pretty. I wanted to dance to embody something or to convey a message. And I didn't think that Indian classical dance would be able to carry the weight of what I wanted to convey to a global audience. So I chose music that really lit me up. And the song that I ended up dancing to on the TEDx stage, it's called My Story. It's by a beautiful singer called Len Spot. And when I heard that song, I was like, this is it. And of course my mind, my lower self was like, but you should be doing Indian dance. You should be wearing an Indian costume. And those were my limiting beliefs and my conditioning. But I had to eventually go with what my soul wanted to do and weave it into my brand message and my global vision. So now I feel really complete, whereas before I felt very fragmented. Like there was one part of me doing this, another part of me doing that. Another thing aside from dance was acting. So I've always loved acting. I studied performing arts. When I was younger, I applied for drama schools. I never got in. But acting's always been a part of my life. And so when I was doing my TEDx talk, I weaved in theatrical parts into it. And when I showed people, they criticized those parts and they said, you don't sound genuine. You sound like you're performing. It doesn't sound like a conventional TEDx talk, which should normally just be conversational. And so I had to go inwards. I took their feedback on board, but I went inwards and my soul told me that you are supposed to be all of you. If acting is what you do it. If dancing is what you do it. If poetry is what you do it. That's how you amalgamate all your gifts together to present it to the world. And if it doesn't fit in the box of TEDx, you create a new box.
So incredible to hear this, to hear your inner journey and your decisions in the process, and it's those kind of creative decisions where we take charge of what we are bringing to the world and we give ourselves permission to do it our way. That's when the magic happens. Like, that's when the juice and the muse wants to like pour through it. And, like what I saw on Monday, the song was such a great choice. It fit the theme of your talk so well. It's about, this is my story. It's so emotional. And you're wearing this beautiful red dress and gold jewelry. And I felt that, that the jewelry is kind of a nod to Indian fashion, like just the gold, the gold elements. But then you're wearing this just like striking red dress that looked great with the TEDx branding. And it really works. I think you have to see Indian classical dance against modern contemporary music. It's different. It's different. Yeah, you gave this theatrical delivery. And what I was getting from it was that you are a performer. Like, you've danced on stages, you love to act, as you've just shared. And I remember one of the breakthrough moments that you had on the way to this was at one of your dance school's shows. And you did a solo performance. You lined yourself up to do a solo performance, like after these early sessions of working on the creative block. And you went and you danced on that stage and unleashed there. So did you know in that moment that you were calling in your greatness and your expansion when you set yourself up and said yes to that challenge?
Yeah, well, we'd been working together for a while, and that was actually the day that I was announcing to my dance school that I was going to be closing down. So it was quite a, big day for me, and I felt like that would sort of wrap up my journey in dance, in Indian classical anyway. And so I actually performed a traditional piece. I did think about doing something a bit more free flow, but I thought actually to honour that part of my life and to share with the students and everything, let me do something that's traditional, let me wear something traditional and really just sort of close that chapter. And then that was a year ago. And then here I am now, 12 months later, doing something completely different with music of my choice, wearing something completely out of, the norm, I would say. And again, there were questions. People asked me like, oh, you're not going to wear Indian? Are you not going to wear the bells? Because we always have like anklets around, our ankles. And I said, no, because I'm moving away from that. I'm almost creating my own style. And that's really what I want to encourage our listeners and our viewers to do. Don't try to fit into a box. Make your own box.
It's in those decisions where you decide to show up, decide to express, and give yourself the chance to do it your way. I think that's when you start germinating something that is completely unique. Like, what you shared on the TEDx stage on Monday is completely and utterly unique. It had your stamp all over it. And that's why it resonated, because you were broadcasting your uniqueness in this talk. You weren't trying to be anyone else. You were sharing your story, your ideas, your journey, even your composition of these dance moments. And, I spoke to people, women in particular, in the bathroom and in the foyer afterward, who said they were activated. And they were using these words of like frequency transmission. They said they were activated, that they resonated with it, that they were fired up. And that's what happens when you broadcast your uniqueness. People feel it through their emotions. They're not like cognitively analyzing and thinking, well, I like what she did in this section and that. It's like the whole experience of it is going into their being and speaking to their soul.
Yeah. And there's so much fear that came with that, in the run up to TEDx, in the weeks before, I was getting sleepless nights. I was having palpitations in my chest and heart. I was having like a lump forming in my throat. I was feeling contraction. And that was obviously my lower self warning me like, hey, what's going on? We're meeting our edge here. But also my nervous system trying to be able to hold that frequency. And so working through that, it would have been so much easier to just give in and say, okay, then I'll wear an Indian dress, or I won't dance, or I won't open up with a gesture, or try and fit in, and I did practice delivering it in a conversational way, and my husband told me I sounded monotone. So at one point I was like, it's one or the other. I'm either theatrical or I'm monotone. I can't find a middle ground. And then eventually I said, just be me, and it's when you are just you, that's when, as you say, your uniqueness shines. That's when your essence comes through. That is what Dharma is.
Absolutely. When I felt stuck and I'm like, I'm not getting the trail anymore. It's gone cold. What do I do now? I'm like, okay, there's nothing else for it. I'm going to have to authentically express myself somewhere. And sometimes I'll go on threads and just write loads of threads as if I didn't give a hoot anymore, and like just try and make myself laugh, or I go on Instagram stories and share like my real journey and what I'm really thinking about. Or, I mean, the best thing is when I sit and write a Substack essay that actually reflects my real ideas and do that kind of slow, chewy writing work. Like that's when I'm really, really getting into what am I really thinking and feeling, and doing that hard work of unearthing it. That's when I see resonance in the outside world. Reclamation itself.
Yeah, exactly. And it's creating that space for yourself, as you say. And one thing that you inspired me to do is to dress up. I used to just, be in my pajamas or loungewear, but you made a, conscious point of saying that if we dress up, we really connect to our inner goddess. And so I started wearing like long dresses in my living room, dancing around, and it does make such a difference. You really get into the zone.
You do. Dancing, dressing up, making your space nice, just taking a moment to savor your day and weave in pleasure to the creative process. It's been a fundamental shift for me, and I talk about it with my clients a lot. I think that there's mysterious elements to this as well, that when we dress in a nice way and make our space nice and take in inspiration, that we're invoking feminine energy, Shakti, to come and be with us in our bodies and in the creative process. And feminine energy has been suppressed in our world. So, we are invoking it and making ourselves available for it. And you feel the difference, right? You look fabulous in your more glamorous outfits. And it's not like we have to do it all the time. Right? We don't need to be perfect. We don't need to be, but it's about doing it because it feels good.
Exactly. And when we do it, we actually give other women permission to do it. And that's the most beautiful thing, that we're then raising that vibration of feminine energy. And that's the point. People say, oh, the state of the world is bad, there's so much fear, corruption, etc. But worrying about it is only adding to it. What we need to do is we need to raise our vibration, and that energy is then going to transmit, across the world. And I'm reading a book at the moment, and it's about the consciousness chart. And it's saying how different emotions carry different frequencies of vibration. And fear is one of the lowest. So staying in a state of fear is detrimental not only to yourself, but to the planet. So it's very important to have these tools and modalities to be able to go inwards, to be able to raise your vibe and then spread goodness everywhere.
If we're contracted and feeling overwhelmed about the state of the world, we're not creating things that stand to make a difference. And that's what I ultimately believe in. I very much believe in acknowledging the darkness and inequality and injustice and corruption and everything that's in our world. But at the same time, and I think this is the master stroke that's being asked of us, is how do we acknowledge the reality of the world while still just feeling this like fundamental gratitude and connection to consciousness, to the divine, to each other, to nature, to our higher selves. That's where real power comes from, I think, when we are fundamentally connected and guided, and that we're here incarnate in this reality to have a human experience. And then you can start creating stuff that actually helps people, like you sharing your light and speaking on stages helps to inspire others. And the more inspired people feel, the more action and creativity we're going to see in the world. So this is the gift that we have to give each other. And something I would love to talk to you about is, so, you know, we've talked about the creative block with dance,
Yeah.
and we've talked about how you moved through it. What I am fascinated by is when you started recording private videos of yourself dancing, and what, while you were applying for TEDx talks, and you said to me that you felt like those videos helped you manifest the talk. So I'd love to ask you, but, you know, what do you see is the difference between the sort of real world, logical, hard work of pitching and applying compared to manifesting, visualizing, calling in an opportunity? How do they go together?
Yeah, so of course, you know, you've got to go online, you've got to fill in the form. There's an audition process. It's very competitive to get a TEDx talk. About 300 people apply, then they shortlist about 100, and then from there, 8 are selected. And they're selected, it's one of the only things in the world which is actually quite fair, because most things you can buy your way to, I find. Even like book publishing, for example, it's all about the number of followers you have nowadays. Whereas TEDx is not about that. They don't care how many followers you have, they don't care what experience you have. You could be just starting out in your career, they even have a youth platform which is for young people. So it's very fair in that sense. What they look for is a very unique idea. And even if the idea is not unique, the delivery, the perspective around it needs to be unique. And then they select based on the idea. They don't mind if you haven't had public speaking experience because they provide you with a mentor. So they've taken people who have never stepped on a stage before to being very confident. That's what they do. They give people mentoring. So of course there's that whole action piece, but then, as we said, there's that inner manifestation work. So I put it on my vision board. I told myself affirmations every day. I made sure that my intention was pure, and I did the work of doing the dance and preparing my ideas, which I felt was calling it in, because I was showing the universe, look, I'm already preparing before I've even got it, because I knew if it wasn't this one, it would be another one. I had actually applied to a couple previously and I didn't get them. One was in January this year. I had to actually physically go in person to do the audition. And I was so confident that I'd get it because the theme was so aligned to me, my personality, my story, and I didn't get it. So it's worth noting that if you are thinking of applying or you want to do something like that, you've got to be able to take the rejection that comes with it.
TEDx application journey, and I really relate to that. And I think that's like how you've been able to grow in such a short time, because you don't give up. You're so
Yeah,
determined, and that's what really sets you apart, isn't it? That's what sets us apart, is when you decide, like, well, I'm definitely growing in this direction, and I'm going to learn how to tolerate this rejection and accept it, and not make it mean that I'm not good enough and that I'll never get it. And when you embrace that detached perspective, like, if it's not this one, it's another one.
yeah,
Just keep going. I'll just keep following the flow.
yeah,
Then, you know, you really are then surrendering and trusting life to guide you. You know, maybe it wasn't meant to be that one, or that one wouldn't have been the best one, or maybe you had more opportunity to prepare and keep growing in time. But what matters is that we keep trusting that inner signal
yeah,
that says, this is what you're meant for. This is the direction for you. And it's all the knocks and the bumps and the rejections along the journey. They really do make you stronger. You know, we need to be able to be mature enough to handle rejection in life,
yeah,
right? Stay connected to ourselves no matter what. If we're waiting, if any rejection is going to like knock us off our throne and send us tumbling into the abyss, then that's such a vulnerable place
yeah,
to be. And I know I've very much been there in life. But yeah, the art of handling rejection and
yeah.
still believing in yourself is a real gift.
And I always hold on to the phrase, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And so if I get rejected, which I have done, if I feel like I failed, which I don't like that word, but if I feel that I've done that, all I ask myself is, what is it in me that's not yet ready? How can I prepare more? Is it in my delivery, my style, my messaging? What can I do to work on myself? Or it might be none of those things. It might just be some shadow work that needs to be done, some self-belief, some self-trust, checking in with my intention. So it's about whether or not you have a confrontation with somebody at work, or whether or not with your partner, your spouse, whatever's happening externally, asking yourself, what is it that's going on internally? And the belief there is, my inner world creates my outer world. So therefore, the outer world is simply a mirror. I mean, say, but she keeps on doing this to me. He keeps on doing that. And it's not a coincidence. It's because it's a pattern. We need to break that pattern by understanding what is going on in you that is creating that, because we're always co-creating our reality.
And so if someone listening to this has a certain speaking opportunity on their bucket list, that's maybe on their vision board, what would you recommend to them in short to help them move towards it sooner?
Work on yourself, the parts of you that you dislike, face yourself, set your intention, make sure it's very clear, and make sure it's in service of others, not just coming from the lower mind. And do the inner work. Start preparing your idea, even before the application. Start thinking about, what is it that really wants to come out of me? And it will come from your soul. And then the right opportunity just has to land. Then it's just a matter of timing. But first of all, do the inner work.
Yeah, be ready and make contact with your soul, make contact with your self-expression, your joy, your whimsy, your delight. Like, what do you actually like to do? I feel that so many people I work with, they're not actually just doing things that they enjoy as much in their lives. And our souls want to have fun, I believe. I believe our souls came here for a well-rounded experience. And yes, there's all the suffering and the hard work and the misery, but there's also joy and pleasure and exploration and experimentation. And when we give ourselves permission to spend more time doing the things that light us up, then we start getting to know ourselves really. And the soul starts like emanating through our being. And that's when things start really just happening in a kind of flow state.
Yeah, I love that. That word flow is beautiful. And you emanate that, by the way. I've always felt that in your presence.
Thank you so much, Nikita. I really received that. And it's been such a delight to have this conversation with you today. And after traveling to Cornwall on Monday to watch you do this TEDx talk and have the opportunity to celebrate with you and your husband and your friends afterwards, it's something that I will never, ever forget. It's like having the opportunity to go and support a client and celebrate them while they really like step out on a major stage and shine their light is something that I'll never forget. And I feel that that's very much what my soul is here to do on this planet. And I'm also here to receive inspiration from the incredible people around me that I work with as well. It's very much about giving and receiving and being able to see people in their magic. So I'm so obsessed with this dharmic path that I'm on.
Yeah,
And I'm so glad the universe brought us together when it did.
me too. Thank you very much for everything. And just a request to our lovely viewers and listeners, please do go on and watch the TEDx talk. And if it inspires you, then please drop a comment below. It will really help to share this message with other people who might need it right now. They might need that hope or inspiration, because I truly believe that ultimately we are all on a journey, but it's whether or not we're brave enough to cross that bridge from karma to dharma.
Yes, please go and watch Nikita's TEDx talk. We recorded this podcast and dropped it intentionally around the launch date of the upload on their YouTube channel, and every watch really helps. So please do watch it from beginning to end. Please do consider sharing it on your social media and support Nikita and myself to get her message out there, and really do go and absorb it for yourself and watch it with full presence and take in everything that she's transmitting during these beautiful dance sequences as well. Please do go and comment on the TEDx talk. Come and leave us a comment here and let us know if you went and watched it and enjoyed it. We will be reading all of them. Trust me. And tell us what you want. What is your bucket list opportunity that you want to call in? Put it in the comments of this episode. Tell us what you are calling in. Every time we declare our desires, they become that little bit more real. So thank you so much for spending this time listening to this episode with me and the wonderful Nikita. Go and follow her on Instagram, and I'll have all of her social media in the show notes. Thank you for being here with us for Creative Alignment with Anna Herber. Nikita, thank you so much. If you resonated with the ideas in this episode, please do like, share, subscribe, comment, all of the things. Tell me what you are struggling with, what you would like me to make future episodes about. I would love to hear from you. And if you are standing on the edge of your soul purpose project right now, and you need some support to surrender to this divine assignment, have a look at my 1-to-1 Year of Alignment mentorships. I will partner with you on your creative process so you can make the kind of steady progress and unleash the authentic expression that makes the universe pay attention. Check out my links below to apply for an alignment call. And thank you so much for spending this time with me today on this path to creative alignment.